Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about glazes and a product that I really love having in my arsenal of paint supplies. But first, let's talk about this little end table that I'm going to be working on. Nice French Provincial style end table. It's got dovetailed drawers. Just had a lot of potential, but it was, as you saw the before picture, just an older wood grain. It looked like it needed some color. So I've started with a couple coats of Paris gray, but I'm feeling like for this piece I need something with a little more depth and interest. So I'm going to open up my quart of Scumble glaze by Artisan Enhancements. Go, to a big box store with a big paint department. You'll see you've got your choice of glazes there, and they come in different, usually brown tones. What I love about Scumble, not only is it non-toxic, so I'm not breathing in all the harmful chemicals in typical glaze products, but also this is a clear glaze type medium that I can actually add some paint color to. So my choices are limitless. I'm going to start by giving our Scumble a good shake. Pop it open. So I've got two bowls here. I'm actually going to mix two colors of Scumble today. Start with 4 teaspoons in each bowl and see how that goes. We can always adjust, add a little more Scumble, a little more paint, depending on the pigment that we want. Okay, so I've got 4 teaspoons of Scumble in each. So you can see the Scumble, it looks white, but actually it's actually clear medium. See, there's no white there. So whatever paint color we add it's going to take on that color. To this one, mix it up really good. Pretty good. So see, I've got a pretty olive green colored glaze here. If I wanted it a darker green, I could add a little more paint, but I think that looks pretty good. Okay. This is going to go over top of the green to kind of soften it. So just add a little white paint to this other bowl of Scumble. See how easy this is? Just add a little paint and mix it up. So again, I did 4 parts Scumble and to 1 part paint. And you can play with that ratio. I think that's a good place to start. As you can see, I've done just a little bit of light distressing. I've also applied just 1 quick light coat of clear top coat sealer. I did that yesterday, so it had some time to dry. And what that's going to do is just provide a nice barrier between the paint finish and the Scumble glaze. Because the chalk paint is very matte and porous, we wanted a good movable surface. So I also added a couple more teaspoons of Scumble to my mixture. I think because the olive has such a dark pigment, it needed to be lightened up just a tad and make it a little more pliable. So I'm using my Artisan Enhancements round brush. This is a great brush for applying glaze. It's a great brush for painting with too. I'm just going to do this whole section here. It's a good idea to work in sections with the glaze you have about 20 minutes before it really starts to set up, which is great because that gives you time to work with the finish and get the look that you're after. You can either take your seawool sponge or a lint-free cloth or shop towel like this and go ahead and dip it in some water and get it damp and start wiping back the glaze. Now if you want the glaze heavier, there's a couple things you can do. You can use a dry cloth to wipe it back, and you'll wipe back a lot less of the glaze with the dry cloth. You can also let the glaze sit for a couple minutes on your surface before you start wiping it back. Oh, I got this pretty wet now. I'm gonna go ahead and continue to wipe, and then I'm gonna take a dry cloth and remove some of the moisture here. It's giving you a very subtle green glaze look over top of the Paris gray. Kind of alters the color a little bit. And I'm gonna let the glaze sit in these crevices. That helps to kind of accent the details here without having to go through with a small brush. Okay, so again, this is very subtle. I could add a little more color to my glaze and make it darker, but I wanted a lighter look for this piece. So let's see, I'm gonna rinse out my brush. See the green down here, I'm gonna leave that. And this time I think I'm gonna use the dry part of the cloth because I want the white a little heavier there. That's nice. And I can come back with more green too. This is the fun part. This is where you get to really be an artist. Just experiment with layering different colors. You see I've got white and green. It's almost like a watercolor effect. While my Scumble glaze is drying, I wanted to talk a little bit about painting and sealing the insides of drawers. So I painted the inside of this one with just one quick coat of Versailles. I like to seal the insides of drawers a lot of times with Artisan Enhancements Clear Finish. The reason is, first of all, it's so easy to apply. I don't have to do any buffing or anything. I'm just going to brush it on real quick, and then I can apply a second coat once it's dry. So 2 coats, and I'll have a nice wipeable surface, which is really nice, I think, for the insides of drawers. See how easy this is, and you really need very little product. Really goes a long ways. So Clear Finish is going to give you more of a sheen, a satin to glossy sheen, depending on how many coats you apply. See how little product I use on my brush. It's not dripping. I'm just going to move this across the surface, and notice that I'm using my Artisan Enhancements top coat brush. This brush was designed to show minimal brush strokes, so that's really what you want, especially in a glossier sealer finish. Okay, let's talk hardware. These poles were kind of a hideous shiny brass, outdated. I love old gold hardware, a soft gold or aged gold, but these were more brass than gold. So I went ahead and just painted them in graphite and then rubbed them back a little bit. Started with that, but I wanted to also add my glazes to the hardware just to give them a more cohesive look with the piece. And I'm going to go ahead and put some of my olive glaze on there. And I don't want to take off too much, so I'm going to use a dry cloth to wipe it back. So that gives us a little bit of contrast, but still a cohesive look. Okay, Artisan Enhancements recommends letting your Scumble glaze dry for 24 hours before sealing. I'm going to use clear top coat sealer today because I love the matte finish and it's super easy to apply. So I've just shaken it up a little bit before I pop it open. And again, I'm going to use my top coat brush designed to minimize the appearance of brush strokes and also give you a good even application. You can see how little, again, that I'm putting on my brush. It's not dripping, and I'm really just going to go move it across the whole surface. So easy and fast. Make sure you don't get any pooled areas here where there's some divots. Okay, so that section's done. I'll come back tomorrow and apply one more coat. So here's my hardware. You can see I used the glazes, and then I also came back and dry brushed a bit of paint over the top. Now that it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and seal it also with clear top coat sealer. You really need very, very little sealer on your brush, especially for this, because you don't want the sealer to pool anywhere on the hardware. But I'm going to do the same thing as I'm doing for the table. Just apply a nice thin, even coat and then let it dry for 24 hours, and tomorrow I'll come back and apply one more coat.